Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Marketing Superheroines and Superheroes Unite. So, I am super excited. I have a very special guest with me today who actually was referred over to a previous from a previous guest, Dawn, and she said, "You have to have this woman on. She's fabulous. You're all going to love her." So I was like, all right. So I reached out to her and she came on. So I'm delighted to welcome you, Kristine. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So we're going to just go ahead and jump in. So, Kristine, tell me about yourself and how you serve the world with your unique superpowers, your USP.
My USP. I gotta say, from the time I was really small, I knew what, my goal in life was to live like in total alignment with spirit, source, God, whatever you call it. And it's been a real adventure, and I call it kind of the spiritual journey and the spiritual journey of entrepreneurship. But it's been a real adventure throughout my entire life. And it really speaks to, or has brought me to this place where I've realized that my unique superpower is to help people connect with their soul purpose and, that spiritual element within them, and then bring that out to the world in the form of a business or in the form of an intentional life. So I work both with business people and people who are building, with what I call an entrepreneurial spirit, or, treating their life intentionally. But I tend to work more with entrepreneurs and business people to help them connect their business with their soul purpose and really step out into their full power and not hide behind, their modality or the thing that they think that they do. Because oftentimes what they have or what life is calling them forward into is something much, much larger than they're allowing themselves to do. And so I help find those little seeds and help step them up into a greater experience and expression of themselves and their business out into the world.
Awesome, awesome. So let me ask you something, because whenever I think about like soul purpose and then tying that into business, I have to wonder how that relates to marketing, because you said something really important. You said something about, people not wanting to step into that. Mm-hmm. And I find that filters into marketing. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it totally filters into marketing, and when you are your own business and you're representing yourself out into the world, and you're doing that from that soul perspective, what your key to successful marketing is to be completely and totally authentic and vulnerable, and really speak from that truth within you. And it's a scary thing to do. We've all been taught from the time that we're little, like what we need to do to be approved of and loved, and to do this, that, and the other, and A, B, C, D, to have a successful business. And when you're doing this from your soul purpose, you're often asked to walk a different kind of path, and to really step into that place, where your power is, but also where your vulnerability is, that place that we're afraid to show, because it's our true core. And, if people don't like us because of the way we look, or because of our body size, or because of our nationality or religion or whatever, we've set those things up. So that's kind of acceptable, because they don't like us for some other kind of quality. But when you're really authentic and you're really vulnerable and you step out as you into the world, and people are afraid of you or don't like you, that is really, really scary. And so the key to successful marketing, I think, is to really not necessarily jump in, 100,000% in the beginning, because all your fear comes up, but to begin to slowly peel through those layers of fear and become more and more authentic in your marketing and in who you present yourself as in the world, and to come out from behind your persona and behind the service or the business that you have, and really present you into the world. Because when you're a solopreneur, people might look at you because of your business and what you offer, but they connect with you because of who you are. And the more you can show them who you are, the more you're going to attract those people that you really want to work with. So if you're only operating at the level of, I offer this service and I'm really good at my service, but, don't get too close to me, those are the people that you're going to attract to you, as people who are, operating only on that service place. But if you're like a coach, or if you're a massage therapist, or if you're somebody who is operating on that deeper level and you want to connect with people who are really open and wanting to step into themselves as well, you have to lay the groundwork and you have to come from that place, because it's only when you're willing to be there that other people are willing to be there with you, and you invite them deeper into their process. And that I find is really attractive to people when they look at you and they say, wow, okay, I can see that I've got this safe place to step into more and more of who I am and more of my power. Then you know, you're slowly inviting them to do that, and they find you very attractive for that reason, and they want to work with you because they know that as you walk forward into that place, you kind of lead them down this path, or forge the path for them, so it's easier for them to do the same thing.
Really interesting. And you know what? The word vulnerability has been popping up a lot lately. Vulnerability and authenticity.
Yeah.
I know some people have a problem with it, but I'm like, just because it's becoming more and more said doesn't take away from the power in those words and what they mean to people. So here's my question to you. Because, you know, as we had established earlier, most of my clients are coaches, and I know that you're here to empower coaches as well as other entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial people. What is the difference between being vulnerable and authentic and writing public confessions on your brand?
So a lot of it depends on what you're connecting to and where you're coming from. And yeah, that whole idea of authenticity and vulnerability, they're really, they're out there more, and people have a misunderstanding of what they are. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. You see this on, well, we're on reality TV as well, but on the blogosphere and in social media, where like every little emotion that comes up, you know, you vent out on that. And you know, there's different levels and different layers of authenticity. And so when you are, like when you find your identity and you really connect to your personality as who you are, then whatever comes up in your personality to you is authentic, and you're offering that out into the world. And so, you know, your thoughts, your beliefs, your conscious beliefs, the things that you like to do, all of that come across as authentic when you speak from there, because you're authentically speaking from that personality place. Now, that's not the real you. That's not being vulnerable. That's just putting out your personality. And then there's that second level of people thinking that it is like they're all that blah that comes up, you know, every emotion that comes up, that if I'm venting all those emotions, I'm bleeding my emotions out into the world, I'm being vulnerable. But that's really connecting to that level of, you know, your wounds and your subconscious mind and your deeply held subconscious beliefs and all of these things, and what you believe about the world. And when you're connecting to that level of authenticity, then really you're bleeding out that kind of stuff. And people who are at that level will really see you as authentic, because they're experiencing life at that level as well. Like that's what they're connecting to, is who they are. When you are really, and it can feel really vulnerable, because, you know, you're really coming from that painful place, but it gets really tedious out into the world, and you know, you're only connecting with other people who are kind of experiencing life from that same level of pain, or that same level of deeply held belief. But when you connect with like the real you, and this is that heart space you, that soul space you, that you of who you really are, beneath your thoughts, beneath your beliefs, beneath your judgments, but beneath everything you've come to think and believe and experience about yourself, you know, that place where that deep mystery within yourself. And when you let go of all those things that you believe and that you think, and the emotions and that kind of thing, and sit with that level of who you are and that power, and you see, you know, your magnificence and the gift that you are in the world. And that's really, really vulnerable, because we're kind of taught that we're this, you know, that we're not very good, that we have to work really hard to make people like us, that, you know, that we're just, that you have to create something magnificent in order to be magnificent, when really there's that depth of person that you are within, that when you begin to connect to and you begin to speak out into the world from, so you're not speaking from your thoughts, you're not speaking from the things that are going on in your mind, you're speaking from that heart level, you're letting life speak through you. And that's a really scary place, to begin to allow like your inner genius, your soul gifts to come through, because we don't have much conscious connection with them unless we've been really fine-tuning them for a while. And it's really scary to go into that mystery and not really know what's going to happen, and be sitting in that place. And when you come into that level of who you are and you begin to speak from that level of who you are, and let your gifts begin to flow into the world without a real well, what's the word I want? Without really controlling what they are and controlling that message, and just allowing that to flow, you come into a place of vulnerability with yourself, and vulnerability with being that open in the world, because you're not really controlling your message, you're allowing it to flow through you. So when you're at that level of authenticity, you're in a deep sense of vulnerability with yourself and with the world. And what you do is you connect with other people who are either at that level or who are wanting to come into that level. So, you can be authentic at any level you want to be. You really need to decide where that is for you. And the true vulnerability is not, bleeding out your emotions out into the world. The true vulnerability is coming and sitting with that true you of who you are, and allowing that level, that power to begin to flow through you uncontrolled.
That's really interesting. When you were saying that, the first thing I was thinking was, because when you were looking for a word, I was thinking about uncertainty and being comfortable with uncertainty.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because it's a really key skill set, to be able to sit with this level of yourself. Because as you're down there, usually because you're in this vulnerability, you've got all these emotions happening at the same time. But when you're sitting with that level of yourself, you can experience the real uncertainty and discomfort of being with all of those emotions and all of that energy running through your system, and yet still be in this very deep sense of peace and calm as you are with that deep mystery within you. And uncertainty is really the name of the game when you are living at that level. But in the best possible way, because when you try to make everything certain, you try to control everything in life, nothing really flows, because you've got your fingers on everything, and you've got to push this one forward consciously before you push this one forward consciously. And when you're living in that deep uncertainty and that soul level expression of yourself, your certainty becomes trusting that. Even though everything outside, everything that's moving in your life, everything that's flowing through you feels very uncertain and oftentimes uncomfortable. And being comfortable with uncertainty and discomfort allows you to sit with that level of authenticity and vulnerability and function very powerfully in the world. And it is a learned skill set.
Awesome. So I think, I'm listening to this and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. So say, I'm coming out and I'm going to be vulnerable and authentic. And, as a coach, in order to scale, obviously I have to use the technologies that be. Yes. So how do I translate that into things like social media? What are some of, your recommended social media tools that fit into being that authentic and vulnerable self, but leveraging technology to get your message and your heart and your soul out there?
Right. So I think a lot of it is really subjective. So the first thing that you really want to do is find how you best express yourself. Like, what is a medium, whether it's video or audio or writing or spontaneity, like spontaneous videos, like on Periscope and that kind of stuff, that really allow that to flow through you. Because again, you want that message to begin to flow through. And for me, for years, it was writing. And because I'm a writer, I love to write, and it allows me to both sit with what's coming up without it coming out too fast, so that I can kind of be with the energy as it's flowing and write it down. And so for a long time, like blogging was my thing, and then posting blogs and sending emails and that kind of stuff, and then posting links to that from social media, from Facebook and that. And I'm fairly limited in what I do, mostly because I just don't have time to do all the social media stuff and manage that. So I tend to stick with Facebook. But even within that, if you choose your 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of social media platforms, you can offer video if that's better for you. For me right now, I'm doing audio calls. I'm doing a call every Monday morning that I've kind of written out the notes of what I want to talk about, and I have a framework of what I want to talk about. But the speaking then really allows that energy to flow in a whole new way. And I find that I get a depth of that flow from that authentic space within me from the speaking that I didn't get as much with the writing. The writing has set up that platform. So I'm moving slowly toward video. I haven't gotten there yet, but because oftentimes when I'm speaking, I find that I'm looking off into the distance, or my eyes are closed, and things that aren't particularly inviting on a video. And but you want to find what really shines for you. Like, you are doing great on video, so
Thanks.
you're beautiful, you sparkle, you think well on your feet, and so video and putting things out in video seems like a great method for you. So the two things you want to know with this are what kind of allows that authenticity to flow through you, and then also what's your safe place. Like, so for me now, my safe place is writing, so I can kind of hide behind the writing. And you want to be aware that if you're beginning to hide in your safe place, and like for some people the safe place is video and spontaneity, where they might really benefit by sitting down and slowing down and writing for a little while and seeing how that begins to flow the energy. So when you find kind of your best medium, or the medium that works best for you, outside of what everybody tells you need to do, because right now everything's about video, but not everybody learns best with video, and not everybody speaks best with video. So, find what's best for you first, and then look at where your audience is. So my audience tends to be, although it's changing, I'm getting a lot more, younger people and millennials coming to me now. So I'm having to rethink like where my social media is, because historically I've worked mostly with like women 30 to late 50s, and they're mostly on Facebook. And so I've mostly used Facebook, but as more millennials are kind of getting really interested in this message and interested in creating a life and a business from this, because, really the business opportunities for millennials not that great right now. So a lot of the more entrepreneurial ones are looking for other means. And so I would love to work with more millennials, but I need to figure out how to get my message to them. And they're into technologies. Like, I get invitations to speak on things like Blab that I'd never heard of. I got to look it up. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I get Periscope and different things, and I'm like, I don't even get this stuff. So, for me, I need to begin to reach out more. So you want to know what your best medium is to get your message out, and so that you can be your most vulnerable and your most powerful, and where your audience hangs out, so that you can reach the people who are going to be most resonating with your message.
And that's a good balance to weigh too, because I find that some people, their audience is in a certain place where they might not be comfortable with being there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like live mediums like this and Periscope and Blab and some of these other things where there's no editing, and you're just like, if you sneeze, that's right in the middle of your thing. So some of those things I think are intimidating for people. But I think you're absolutely right. If you're not hanging out where your audience hangs out, you get lost. But I think you can do some things like, if you're comfortable with video, and you can do a video, and then you put the video out on other forms of media that maybe aren't live, or you do your live thing, and then I don't know how it works, if you can move it in and edit it and then put it somewhere else. I don't know. So I need to get with Dawn, who's the one that recommended me to you, because she's much more savvy in getting social media. And so now that my market is changing, I need to explore that better as well.
Definitely. And Dawn is definitely awesome.
Yes.
So speaking of Dawn, I want to talk about delegation, because you did something that I find is actually extremely vulnerable for coaches who want to feel as though they can do everything and be everything to everybody in order to grow their magnificent coaching business. And as long as I've been working with coaches, and I know Dawn could, would agree, it's just not possible. Even if you're a solo business owner, you still need to reach out to people for help. So what are your suggestions for coaches who are, they're in their business and they might not even, because sometimes I think people wait until they're completely overwhelmed and then they decide to bring somebody on. But in my experience, actually, it's before you even get to that point that you should bring somebody on. But that's my opinion. What about you? What say you?
Oh, I absolutely think that, especially as you start growing your business, and a lot of coaches and a lot of people starting their business start with like a zero budget, and they're scraping together to get their website together, get their business cards done, and basic marketing and stuff. Although a lot of coaches I know, they've got everything but marketing. They don't market because they don't know how to market or who to market to, or it's just word of mouth, and that's not working for them as well. I think it's really good to sit down and look beginning to end, like what you need to do to not just like have your expertise and what you do. And that's really where solopreneurs shine, is in their expertise and their message and their modality, and beginning then, if they work with somebody like me, to really bring that like really strongly into the marketplace. But then there's all these other pieces that, one, take up a lot of time and take up a lot of energy. And if you try to do it yourself, oftentimes end up sucking up a lot more money than if you just hired somebody who could do it in like a third of the time that you could, to go ahead and get it done for you. And so when you look at the beginning to end, like how you set up your website and how you begin to streamline your message and who your target market and stuff is. Even though there's a lot of information out there about how to get that done, it can be a lot faster to find somebody to help you pull your message out of yourself, because it's hard to sometimes narrow down what you do in a way that other people understand. So finding somebody to help narrow your message, using that then with somebody like Dawn, who does websites and begins to streamline everything through your website and through your social media, having kind of a very tight, clean message that you speak around, that speaks to what you do, so that you're not having to try to be everything to everybody, because it's hard when you're trying to reach everybody with your message. So finding somebody to help with that messaging, and then finding somebody to help with social media so you can get your message out there, and having a solid marketing plan so that you're not just spewing out information everywhere. So you've got your tight message. You can speak all around your message in very authentic and creative ways, but if you're giving a consistent message out into the world, it makes it much easier for people to understand what you do. And then, as much as you can, if you love social media, do some of it yourself. What you don't love, hire somebody to do for you, or use something like Hootsuite and that kind of thing. And then to hire somebody to help you figure out your marketing plan, so that you are being really targeted in who you reach out to, how you reach out to them. And it may seem like it's a lot of money to do a marketing plan, but if somebody is really helping you to focus on where you want to go and who you want to work with, it's going to pay off in the long run by getting you clients faster and easier, and bringing them to you instead of you always trying to run out and figure out where they are. So I would say, if you're a solopreneur, to focus on what you do best, your modality, to continue to expand that, and then everything else around that about how to get that into the world. Look at what you like and what you're good at, and maybe do some of that, and hire out everything else. And if you need to hire somebody, that does multiple pieces of that, it saves you a little bit of money, and that's fine. But otherwise, if you can just get little contract with people to get that out, and then maybe contract with somebody like Dawn or somebody else, and I'm not sure how you do this, but
or A&D Media.
Okay. So that helps then to keep that media message out there in a consistent way. And the one other thing that I would do, and this is what I finally decided I needed to do, was to get just a VA to just do the parts of the content creation, because I love content. I could just create content all the time, and if people just showed up, that would be great. But you know, it's the getting people to show up part that's hard, and then getting that content out into something that's recognizable. So I have a VA that she posts my blogs, and she, you know, puts out the emails and all that kind of stuff, because that stuff I know how to do. I can do it. She's faster, she's easier. I would rather work with people, like work with extra clients per month so I could pay her, than to try to spend the time to do it myself and not have that time with clients, because that's what I love to do.
Good
So
point.
yeah, hire out everything that you don't want to do or that you're not good at, by, you know, and then really focus on that authentic message as it comes out through you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Great question.
Thanks so much for sharing your experience. And I love that you said that, because sometimes you said something really important. Sometimes people go, well, I can do all that myself. Yeah, you can, but you know, why? So
Yeah, totally. Because why? Because it takes up all your time, it takes up your energy, and you've got much better things to do with your energy. And when you're working from that power, like that power place, you know, having a team that's really helping you with that, that's part of energizing and holding and streaming that power, is not to try to do everything yourself, because that's kind of like telling the universe, I don't need anything, I don't need anybody. And if it comes down to money, it's like, well, and I'm not willing to stream that level of money that I can hire a team. So but when you step out and you begin to hire that team, things begin to flow more strongly for you, because you've got the support system so that you can handle more clients and more people and more interviews and more different kinds of fun things that you like to do. And that increases, you know, your power flow in the world.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited about all of these tips, and it stinks because our time has already come up to that time, that, you know, that point. So before we go, could you leave us with one final takeaway, one final power boost that we can take and put to immediate use?
Yeah. All right. So, well, first, there is I do a vibrational business creation call every Monday at 9 o'clock Eastern, and we use this technique in that call, and that's why I'm sharing that. But so I use this because I think creating, you know, we always want to create from our minds, and we just have that default to create from our minds. But when you want to really create from your soul and that deeper part of you, you have to connect there on a regular basis. And the easiest, fastest way to begin to connect there is through the breath. And so when you sit down each day and you're getting ready to work, and you just begin some slow, long, deep diaphragmic breaths, using that diaphragm as key, that's a muscle below the lungs to draw your breath downward. And you begin to breathe that way just for a few minutes. It begins to quiet the mind and connect you with that deeper place, that soul place, that authentic you within. And as you practice that, and you begin to come into that state before you make your decisions, before you make a phone call, before you connect with clients, before you get on an interview like this, it begins to rewire your system so that you start more automatically speaking and being yourself from that place than automatically going into your head. So I do a call, right now we're doing a series on the spiritual journey of entrepreneurship, and all the little energy components, and practicing that in the meditation of this call each time. But we use this breath each and every time. So, you know, if your audience members want to sample these calls and begin to practice this breath and really connect with that deep place within, they can sign up. I believe it as vibrationalbusinesssuccess.com.
Awesome. And I'll definitely put that, you know, with your interview as well.
my website link. And Dawn made this website for me. So if people want to check out Dawn's work, is KristineMadera.com, Kristine with a K, Madera.com. Awesome. And so people can check that out as well. So, but I'm so glad to have been here, and I'm loving that you're out in the world doing this and spreading your word about you and about the tools that people can use to really get their amazing messages out into the world.
Awesome. And you know what? Honestly, this is heart and soul work for me because I love doing these type of interviews. Um, I try very much to come from a place where it's all about love and just spreading the love, sharing the love, and just speaking highly of other people and letting them share their message as well. So, and you know what? I can attest to that breath thing because actually, guys, before I hopped onto this, I did my own breath too. I think breath is very important, and we can have a whole conversation about that one. I'm not even going to go there today.
Yeah.
So,
And it's a really basic, very good practice. And I'm glad that you do it because you're speaking to the truth of what it does, because you're able to be just this wonderful, spontaneous you on your call. And there's so many other things you can do to really connect and tap into that energy. So, but thank you for having me on. It's been wonderful.
awesome, awesome. I'm so happy and thankful for you to be on. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I cannot believe we are already winding down to the end of the year. So, but I thank you for just riding along with me throughout this year. And I thank you for tuning into this episode. Kristine, again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's great. It's been great talking to you.
Awesome. Everyone, until the next time, take care.
Bye.